Hello everyone, this is Krotic giving you Game 2 in a best of 3 series between Mouse Sports' Mana and Fnatic's TT1 or TTI here on Shakuras Plateau. First thing I will say, this is the TSL version of Shakuras Plateau, meaning that these destructible rocks do actually lead into your base. Another thing is there are only 7 mineral patches as well at the natural expansion. Those are the two major changes. This is actually a very, very old version of Shakuras Plateau then, as I believe all new versions have 8 mineral patches. This must be like 1.1, but you cannot actually do a close spawn or a north and south spawn here on Shakuras Plateau. TT1 sticking to the green Protoss on the bottom right hand side of the map. Meanwhile, Mana now as the yellow Protoss here on the top left hand side. This is Game 2 in a best of 3 series. TT1 currently having a 1-0 lead so far. And we'll see if TT1 will be able to finish this particular matchup, or will Mana be able to force a Game 3. You can see Mana sitting over here, just currently chrono boosting. I'll leave that production tab up, as you guys will be able to keep track of what's happening in terms of their builds. Now, Shakuras Plateau is a rather large map because it does force cross spawn. And by forcing cross spawns, you may be able to set up your natural expansion much more easily. I don't see any forge cannon expansions here, as the opponents are not Zerg. And now both players trying to check to see if there's any cheese play, making sure there's no proxy pylons. TT1 making sure there's nothing down over here. Meanwhile, you can see earlier that Mana was looking around on the inside of his base to see if there's anything over here. Both players actually scouting in a different location, as well as that probe will be able to make its way up that ramp. Both players pretty even so far. We'll see if TT1 will be able to stick to those gateway units with unextended thermal lance range Colossi, or will Mana be able to use Immortals and Stalkers, or even will that game get this far this time around? There's a decent amount of energy being saved up currently on the Nexus of Mana. Meanwhile, back over here, TT1 has been chrono boosting a little bit more probes, and because of that, we may be seeing a 4-gate. Generally, the telltale signs of a true 4-gate with 21 or 20 probes is a lot of energy on a Nexus and stopping probe production. You can see there, 18 probes have been trained so far, a large amount of energy on that Nexus, and now getting a chrono boost onto that Cybernex core there. And we'll see if this is all a feint, just because TT1 is currently on the inside of the base, as a Zealot now making its way out. We should be getting some additional gateways and additional pylons as well, as that is going to be needed. Warp Gate research now coming in over here. Stalkers are being trained up, so the probes will be forced to leave in just a moment. And this probe wants to stay around as long as he can. The longer this probe is able to stay inside the base, the more that he knows exactly what Mana will be trying to go for. He needs to see that all-important third building. Is it going to be a robotics facility, additional gateways, or perhaps a Twilight Council? And that is what I call the third building, as that's the third critical building in order to figure out what your opponent is trying to go for. You can see now double gateways being built on the front door, triple gateways being built on the front door. So Mana really opening up, and will have a lot of production units. This one assimilator over here will get destroyed with little to no issue at all. And that will be the first true losses by any of these players so far. No, the scouting probe from TT1 was also destroyed as well. So, and very, very minimal losses so far at this stage in the game. Are we going to get a new assimilator? Probably not. As you can see, there are only 22 probes out and no longer training any additional probes. You can see the chrono boost off on that gateway there. The warp gate research has already been completed. And these gateways are just a little bit delayed, just because the probe was able to wander around for so long. Finally upgrading to that warp gate, and now going to upgrade these into warp gates as well, and then start warping in units in a hurry. Oh, the key question is, are you actually able to warp in units along the high ground here? That would be pretty interesting. If you have the probe on this Zelnaga watchtower and then the pylon here, you would be able to warp in units and then put pressure on the destructible rocks and perhaps try to do a flank that way. The Stalkers are now making their way in. And does TT1 have enough of an army? He does have a sentry there. The sentry will have enough for perhaps 1 to 2 force fields. After that first force fields are down, and we currently have 3 warp gates up and running, and that force field was not perfect. So those Stalkers will be able to get up that ramp very, very carefully. A Zealot going to perhaps lead the way first. No, a Stalker now trying to squeeze through there. There's that second force field, and that misplaced force field may be the death of TT1. By not having those additional force fields, the Zealots are now going to be able to warp up that ramp there. There's some more force fields, and now we need to get another force field on the ramp. Not quite sure why TT1 actually bothered force fielding there, as these Zealots are now getting taken down over and over. Zealots now getting destroyed. One low hit point sentry. We need to get another force field up that ramp, as those Stalkers are now going to make that up. And now more Zealots coming in. Another force field, but once again misplaced. So Stalkers should be able to squeeze their way through. Probes now coming off the mineral line to try to battle this out, as now Mana just making his way inside the space. Yellow versus green, both sides doing a fair amount of damage, but I believe that Mana just has such a large army at this point that there's not much that really TT1 can do at all. He didn't pull enough probes, but if he did pull even more probes off in that particular matchup, he'd be in a even further behind, and there's the game. So Mana winning game 2 with a classic 4-gate here on Shakuras Plateau, game only being 8 minutes and 5 seconds. So we will be seeing a game 3 between these two players. Yeah, stay tuned. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, just go ahead and click on the next. For those of you guys who are currently watching the live stream, I do have one more game for you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Mouse Sports' Mana and Fnatic's TT1.